What's up guys, welcome back to another video. Today, I'm going to be installing the cam bearings in the Chevy 350 engine. Now, a lot of people are scared of doing their own cam bearings, but I'm here to tell you it is not that difficult. I have gotten the perfect formula together, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. So here I have our brand new set of cam bearings. What I did was I traced one of them out. I used a straight edge to do a 12 and 6, 9, 3, and then just filled in the gaps, basically eyeballing it around the rest of the circle here. You only really need 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 on the circle, and the reason you need these marked out is because on cam bearings they have these little holes, some of them 2, some of them 1, for the oil to pass through and lube up the camshaft. Now those holes need to align with holes that are in the engine block, and usually most manuals explain that as if you have the engine right side up. But in order to install them, you generally have to have the engine upside down. So this is the translation of how they should go. For instance, bearing 1 has 2 holes, and they should be located at 8 and 4. So if I take this, and I put it down, and I line one of those holes up with 8, the other hole here is aligned with 4, and there's the top center. Now when installing them, normally I believe this calls for a 10 and 2 position, but when inverted upside down with the engine block upside down, it's an 8 and 4. So following that logic, bearing 2 is at the 8 o'clock position, 3 at the 8 o'clock, 4 at the 8 o'clock, and 5 at the 8 o'clock. It makes it really, really easy to follow. And then what we're gonna do is install from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 as the final one. And that order is from furthest from the timing chain back. So if you're working on this, here's the side with the timing chain. That is gonna be bearing 5, 4, 3, 2, and then the last one right there. Bearing 1 right here on this side is the only one that has 2 holes in it. But when you buy bearings, it should give you the numbers right here. So number 1 is 26, 2 is 27, 3 is 28, 4 is also 28, and 5 is 27. Those markings relate to this tiny code that is stamped on the bearing, which I don't even know if you can see it or not, but it says 26 right there. So I know that 26 is number 1 because of what it says on the box here. So in order to actually install these, it is recommended to put them in dry. No lube, no oil, no WD-40, none of that stuff. The only prep that you should be doing is spraying some brake cleaner into the cam bearing holes, making sure that they are completely smooth, which in this case, they are smooth, they are grease-free. Every single one of them. There's a little bit of staining down in there, but that's not a problem for the bearing seating. As long as there are no rough parts or nibs or nubs or metal shavings or anything else like that in there, you're pretty good to install these. Now this gold thing here is our special tool. That's what we're gonna actually be using to put these bearings in. And how this works is the bearing just goes and slides on this part. It's held by this little O-ring. This part aligns with the camshaft hole right there, and you hammer on this end and knock the bearing in with that side. This is a specialty tool. I believe it's specifically built for the Chevy small block, so you can buy it online. Just look for cam bearing installer tool. A lot of people use a lot of different methods for this, but I find that this one is the most precise. It is a precision tool, and I think this is gonna be your best option. Now, before we go any further, what you're gonna wanna do is align every single one of your cam bearings up with this little diagram. And at the very top, at the 12 o'clock point, you want to draw a line. So I'm gonna do that on every single one of those, and I'll tell you why. Because when there's a line on top right here, that does not delineate the number 1, that delineates the very top, the 12 o'clock position on the bearing. So when it goes in, all you have to do is align that line with the oil journal up here, and you know exactly where the 12 o'clock position is, and so you know that those 2 dots are perfectly aligned with where they should be. It makes these an absolute breeze to install. A little bit of prep work, a little smart math, and you're gonna be on your way to installing these with no problem. So enough playing around. I'm gonna mark those lines on every single one of the bearings, and then we're gonna start installing. And this will be done in probably 5 minutes or less. All right, so now that we got our bearings all marked up with the lines, we've got number 5 right here, which is gonna go into this furthest oil passage. So we're gonna install in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This will be easy. So for the bearing installer, you're gonna wanna take this end piece off and just slide the rod through. Try not to let it drag. You can put it down to brace it for a second if you need both hands. Now with the piece that you took off, you're gonna take the bearing and just slide it on top, just like that. and it will snap in there pretty nice and tight. The only thing holding this on here really is that O-ring, so it can easily be backed off when needed. So next what you're gonna do is come down in here, you're gonna put it in sideways, and then you're gonna connect it back up with that little end piece. You're gonna stabilize one end of it with the other end of the tool, and then you're just gonna hammer it in. All right, we got that one all set in there. You can see down there, the oil journal is dark. And if you take something like an Allen key and you put it down in here like that, you can feel that it is going down into the oil journal that's down in there, which is perfect. Now, a word of caution, when you are putting the bearing onto this little attachment for the installer, don't do what I did and put it on backwards the first time, because then your 8 o'clock position becomes your 4 o'clock position. And for all of these bearings that are only supposed to be facing the 8 o'clock position, I might have put that one in backwards first. So now we're on to number 4, then 3, 2, 1, and I'll see you as we finish the last one. Now when you're putting these in, you're gonna have to give it a pretty solid whack. I'm using a much lighter weight hammer than I really should be using for this, but I wanted something with more precision, so I'm not just whacking it willy-nilly, but you are gonna need to hit it pretty hard to get these started even. Now once they're started, they are pretty easy to get in the rest of the way, but it still takes some good strength. That one needs to go just a little further. And there we go, that one's in. All right, there you go. All of the cam bearings are in. Now, something that a lot of people don't know is that if you look real closely here, you can see all those little metal shavings down in there. That's actually being cut off of the bearing as you pound it in there. That's how they get such a good tight seal. So after you're done doing this, make sure to clean this out, whether you need to vacuum it, spray it down with water, brake clean, what have you. Just make sure you get all those little metal shavings out. Otherwise, that's gonna be a problem later on. My favorite method, brake clean, spray it down in there, get all those little shavings out. Might be a little excessive, but it gets the job done. Take your block and turn it upside down. Let all that come out. And then again, from this side, you can spray it down through the lifter openings and back through the cam journals to get it totally and fully clean. And you can see all the way through there, all of those beautiful new cam bearings. It is not that difficult of a process, I promise you guys. So there you go. That's how you install cam bearings on a Chevy 350. It's a pretty similar process on just about every other car that you're gonna work on, as long as it's one of these old iron blocks. I can't speak much for the newer ones because I don't have that much experience with them. But if you followed along and this video was able to help you out, or my method of doing it helped you out, I'd appreciate a subscribe, maybe a like on the video. Leave a comment, tell me what you think. And other than that, I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya!